Hello, Hamid. How are you doing?
Hello, Young. I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm very happy that you can join my Next Wave speaker series, in which I've been working on leading CEOs, technologists, others that can be able to share their insights into emerging technical trends and their potential to reshape number of industries that can be able to change the world. So first of all, congratulations for closing oversubscribed 135 million euro C round, which our firm, Walden Catalyst, led, along with Temasek and existing investors. This represents a significant vote of confidence in Nearfield's groundbreaking technology and its potential to reshape the semiconductor landscape. So again, thank you for joining and congratulations.
Thank you very much, Young. It's a pleasure to be here joining you on this new episode of the Next Wave. And it's an exciting moment, and I highly appreciate your trust and looking forward to work together building Nearfield to the next phases.
Absolutely. I will be joining the board with you, and we'll work together to build something great that can have an exciting journey. And I know it's going to have a huge impact in our industry to make the difference. So, Hamed, some background for the audience. You are a professor and chair of nano optomechanics instrumentation development at the Mechanical Engineering Department at Eindhoven University of Technology, a lot of technology word. In 2016, you co-founded Nearfield Instruments. And so let's a little bit talking about your background and how did you become an entrepreneur from professor?
Sure. After my graduations in mechanical engineering, back then in years of 2000s, I started a company in also equipment for more heavy industry. Opportunity came, the company was sold in 2006. And then I wanted to do something more advanced. My passion always was with advanced complex systems. So I decided to do a PhD. Came to the Netherlands on advanced mechatronics control. And then after my graduations and postdoc research in university, I started working in semiconductor industries in TNO. We started developments of a new metrology solutions, a process control for chip industry. We recognized back then a gap in the industry, and that this gap is going to be larger and becomes bigger in the coming decades. We identified a potential solution and architecture, starting the developments. In year 2014, I was convinced that this is going to be feasible, it's going to work. So I decided to put enough time to build a strong business plan because I had the ambitions to start a business again. So I did a part-time MBA, an executive MBA, with the excuse to find enough time to build a strong business case. In 2016, I invited customers, which are the semiconductor fabs who builds and make chips, to come test the back then proof of concept. And then we were convinced that there is a lot of added value. Customers were interested, sort of securing the launching customers. And we founded the company in 2016. That was the start of Nearfield Instruments, building the business, building the company, building the product, and brought us where we are today.
So I'm glad that your entrepreneur interest, your technological innovation came together, and you've been working this for several years to get to where we are. And it's a long, very difficult, complex journey. So I want to just give you my perspective, what I see, because I sit in the number of semiconductor related companies. And I think that we all know, as you are going into smaller geometry, we are challenged in being able to address number of the issues that can be able to help us to shrink, stack number of wafers, dies, as well as system in packaging. All these things require new way of doing things to reduce power, improve the speed, and reduce the cost. So this is the what I call traditional, the Moore's law plus driven trend that are helping us to enable us to have the better transistor budgets and better AI chips to all of our life today. So now your instrumentation, what you're working on is really a compelling because we saw, unlike other technologies, you can be able to improve the throughput, you can improve the what we call approximation of how you can measure your 3D depths, as well as the improved yield. So we want to talk a little bit about this because I think this is a really big challenge for semiconductor industry. So for those of you who doesn't know much about area of instrumentation, maybe it'll be good to give you some background of what are the issues and what you're working on and what solutions you have.
Yes, certainly. So what we are working on and what solution, I want to start a little bit on the application. So who needs that and why indeed? You gave a very good high-level introductions. If we look at semiconductor roadmap, especially in the era of AI and generative AI, the amount of required computations is exponentially growing. It's nothing comparable with PC era and mobile era. It's orders of magnitude more computation power is needed. Now, given the applications that are in front of us, and that is everywhere in our life, in order to meet those amount of power for the computation in coming decades, we will surpass the total energy produced in the world. That's not feasible. If we continue with the so-called scaling down the size of transistors, making more transistors. And here a revolution happened in the industry that instead of just shrinking and optimizing the device itself, let's take a step back and optimize the total system. And this is where so-called advanced packaging, which is instead of just putting the number of transistors together, stack them vertically. Now, think of a Manhattan. You cannot build basically more skyscraper, you go vertical. And then the connectivity between each of these floor to be able to have communications, electricity going up and down becomes the challenge. This is the way to meet the computation need, the processing need, but also at acceptable power efficiencies. Now, the challenge here is that the traditional process control in the fabs that makes the semiconductor chips are facing a huge challenges in terms of bringing resolutions, capability to measure these 3D high aspect ratio structures at a decent throughput. Our technology addresses exactly that gap that industry needs. Meaning, we directly measure on the transistors, which are dozens of atoms these days, have by intrinsically the 3D capability, which means no need of modeling and so on, and is a high throughput. So what is our contribution? It can be summarized in two folds. One, improving the yield of production of those chips and time to yield to bring the chips, the new chip generations, faster to the market.
Great. So, Hamed, let me intercept here because I think it'll be good to get us some perspective on couple things. One, you talked about the power, and it is indeed true. Today, data center represent about a 1% worldwide power consumption, and expectation by 2030 is that it's going to go up to potentially as much as 10%. So it requires all of a sudden the global need of power to support AI boom is a many new power capacity to support the computational requirements. And as we all know, that is not very sustainable. It is not easy to increase power density overnight. So the way we are going to do is innovation, is using technology to make it more efficient. And part of that is Morse law, but the other one, as you're discussing, is advanced packaging, which is like 3D, going into the 3D dimension, so you can be able to reduce the overall footprint and being able to maximize the power that are required. So that's the big picture. And now, as we are moving into next generation, the traditional technology like optical or even metrology may not be able to overcome some of the things that you can do with your AFM. I don't know if people know it's an atomic force measurement tool that you guys have been working on. So you want to talk a little bit about what that is and how is it different than traditional approach and why you believe you can differentiate in a traditional market where it's going through major migration to 3D and system in packaging type of direction.
Yes, absolutely. So indeed, the technology that we work on and is based in our product is a scanning probe microscopy or atomic force microscopy. Now, how does it work? Is like a nano-sized record player. You have an atomically sharp tip that is connected to a vibrating micro beam that via advanced control and mechatronic system, you follow the surface atom by atom. And that intrinsically has atomic resolution. You can see atoms with it. However, this invention, this microscopy technique, had several fundamental limitations to be used in an industrial environment like a semiconductor fab. Nearfield Instruments addresses those challenges, completely redesign the whole concept of atomic force microscopy to remove these bottlenecks to be able to use it in a fully automated manner in the fab. What are those? Is the automations, increasing the speed, and make it so autonomous that you do not need a very skilled person next to it. And this is the core of our solutions, which is a mechatronic systems that enables to follow the surface with picometer level of accuracies that we are able to follow these 3D structures atom by atom at a very high speed. Now, this solution brings advantages compared to existing solutions in terms of resolution, 3D. Optical solutions are intrinsically limited by their wavelengths. So the resolution at best is a factor of the wavelength. So you cannot really do nanometer scale metrology with it. Electron beam techniques like scanning electron microscopy or transmission electron microscopy has higher resolutions. However, intrinsically they are 2D. A scanning electron microscope is a 2D technique, meaning cannot use them for very high aspect ratio structures. Or you have to use transmission electron microscopy that are destructive. So you will waste a lot of chips, potential layers to become chips at the end, which consequently also uses a lot of electricity and fresh water in the fabs as well. We Our solution intrinsically is a non-destructive technique. This is our differentiation factors and uniqueness that we bring to this industry.
Yeah, that is something that we validated by talking with some of your partners and customers. It's about the being able to enable 100x throughput improvement with much more accurate levels to scale down as the stacking and the packaging advances, which I think is really tells a lot about what you've been working on. Now, why Netherlands? Why is it that company like ASML is being born and being very successful? You're very much in that community. Maybe you can talk a little bit about what's the unique Dutch ecosystem that enable Megatronic companies to be successful out of there.
Yeah, I think that has two angles, Young. It has the cultural angle, in my opinion, and the heritage of Philips, being into all kind of innovations in complex machines. So when it comes to multidisciplinary developments, like equipment in semiconductor, look at the scanner of ASML is a very complex multidisciplinary. Now, what is the challenge with such a multidisciplinary where you have mechanics, you have electronics, you have optics, you have thermal issues, and all together have to work to optimize the performance that you want? Now, the challenge here is that um, what Dutch ecosystem has in a culture is being very direct, very assertive, and that helps that everybody speaks up way easier. Meaning you can listen and you can bring the risk, the hidden risks in such a complex system from different angles. And that is what is a very important factor in a complex equipment instrument development, because you want to know the risk that becomes a showstopper later. You want to know it today, because then you can mitigate it. The cultural element is manage unavoidables and avoid unmanageables. This plays a big role in my opinion. Second is persistency. In a positive way, also naiveness, that you keep working, you keep trying, you will continue the development, and then you will make it happen. This is also how ASML became ASML, and we are having the same culture in the company as well.
I've been fortunate to work with companies like ASML for 20 years. And in fact, I worked on EUB company that was born in San Diego, Cymer, which got merged with ASML 2013. And I've seen this progression, and it's a very complex system that being able to help all of us in the world to create a very precision micro product lines that are much smaller scale than ever been. And it is a truly industrial collaboration, right? The lasers coming from Trump in Germany, the big lens coming from Zeiss, as well as the EUB engines that are coming from ASML, and then you have to put it all together. And so I think that is a culture of directness, culture of transparency, and that's what making everybody's input heard, and therefore you can be able to mitigate the risk. And I think that's a really interesting lesson about how you manage very complex system design.
Absolutely, well said. Yes, indeed, exactly. That is the point.
So tell me about the startup ecosystem, because you've been at this for 7+ years now, and it's not simple. You have spent over 100 million euros already to get to where you are. So tell me about your startup journey, and then tell us about also your customer traction. What is your partnership like? How are you working on this?
Yeah, a startup, it's a difficult space, semiconductor, and even more challenging. And equipment in semiconductors is a very difficult space. Barriers to entry is very high. Over the last, let's say, decades, the whole view in the Netherlands on building deep tech startups have improved significantly. There are a lot of programs in the Netherlands that supports startups, especially in the deep tech era. I think the area that it still needs improvement is scaling up, which is a completely different challenge and a different game. It was very difficult, attracting investors, attracting talents, especially being next to giants like ASML. Attracting talents was very difficult. Um, we were able to do that by offering ownership to people, that you can have a big contributions, unlike a very large organizations that is very difficult to define what you do, what is the contribution to total targets and the company business. So we were able to attract people that had entrepreneur attitude, core knowledge as well, and that was a very important, seeds to build the company and the culture of the company upon that. Um, since it's a very difficult business, it's a very risky. Securing the customer as soon as possible, as early as possible, is extremely important, because then customer can help you directly to develop what they need. Otherwise, the biggest failure reason of deep tech startup is that they keep developing a technology with the hope that maybe one day they find a customer for it. I think for us was completely the other way around, and I think that had a big impact, that we were able to show the core of the technology, what does it mean for customer, in a minimum viable way as early as possible, and together with customer develop the product and deliver early enough. So time to market is also extremely important. We could not afford to be a perfectionism. We needed to bring a minimum viable and mature the product with our customers. And this is what happened, that enabled us to ship and jointly develop, further mature the product with customer. With our launching customer, um, Korean customer, which I'm extremely proud and happy of working with them. But we are also literally working with all the other major fabs in the world, and these are in all the different countries.
So great, Hamid. Clearly, this journey, it doesn't happen overnight. When you're working on deep, profound technology, it's a long game, and you've been at it. But I think it's very interesting. There was innovation, there was a persistence, there is a entrepreneurial spirit, and customer engagement early to work closely to validate the concept and then making it better over time. And this is kind of where you are. And this is what we actually saw when normally we do not invest in instrumentation company. But when I heard from Eric Maurice, said we have to look at this company, and multiple times to give his credit, I have looked at it and I said, you know what? There is a problem. There is a significant problem in semiconductor to shrink, to reduce power, to go to the advanced packaging. And you need new tools, you need a new solution, and that's what you're working on. And the best part is you're working very closely with the customers. And customers believe that you can reduce throughput by 100x. And that is a huge advantage. And I know you have some great products that are coming out that are even going to be better than what's out there. So I'm very excited about this. I don't think you can announce it yet, but I'm sure when people hear about this, they're going to be very excited about what you're working on.
Correct. Yes, indeed. You well said. We're looking forward to further develop the company and bring those really innovative, sort of disruptive products to the market together with Walden catalyst, and you, Young, yourself.
So let's talk about the future state. In 5 years, how would you, let's say, how would you articulate success mean to you and your company?
Success in this business, and for me, is when customers are satisfied, when we can add value to our customers. That's the definition of success for me. And it is not something that I check the box and I say, now I'm successful, or the company is successful. This is a continuous effort to deliver and to satisfy and add value to your customer. By definition, this industry is a wheel that is going and going with innovations. So there is only one way: perform today, innovate for tomorrow. And that is what we keep doing. In 5 years, we will be a company that has significant, I don't want to put a percentage, but significant portion of the market, because of the importance of our product on upcoming challenges in this industry, becomes a very important leader in metrology and inspection. And we want to stand on our feet to be able to deliver those innovative products that we have in our roadmap.
Great, big impact. So one more advice on, let's say, observation, let's say, you know, the 70% of all the startups in Silicon Valley in the US are started by immigrants like me or like you. So tell me about your journey as an immigrant and building a successful startup company.
By definition, there is no free lunch, Young. You select something and you will suffer somewhere else. Immigrating to another country with completely another culture, starting completely from zero, has its own, it's a big challenge. But I believe when you suffer, when you have pain, you grow from it. And that is an extremely important asset that immigrants have. And I see it in myself as well. The whole journey of my life was not easy. It's been tough, immigrations, work coming from country that was underdeveloped, fighting to get what you want, not counting on your luck, working hard, be persistent, but also have the, let's say, the opportunity of being close to people that had that pain as well, and that they can give back. They are willing to give back. And I was one of the luckiest one to be surrounded with close friends, close colleagues that were really givers and helped me. And that also taught me how important is diversity in not only in our daily life, but also in this business, and especially in the deep tech business, which we take it very serious. Again, is all about seeing it from different angles. Try to bring the risk on the table as soon as possible. And by definition, when you have a diverse team, you see different, you discuss from different perspective. And that is also the beauty of working with immigrants and being an immigrant as well, because then you are part of a diverse community as well.
Recently, Jensen Huang of NVIDIA, my friend, had an interview at Stanford Business School, and it talked about the importance of resiliency. I think that is probably what many immigrants bring, because they have to be resilient, they have to be adaptable, they have to move and challenge. And I think those spirit is probably a very important part of what made and what all of us are actually striving for. Tell me, what would be your advice for aspiring entrepreneurs?
Be bold, at the same time self-critical. What it means is that don't think too small, think big, but be try to develop the capability to be able to look back, reflect back on yourself, be able to criticize yourself, to be able to sanitize your idea, your ambitions with people who can actually give you that view also. That is my advice to entrepreneurs. So be bold, think big, don't limit yourself. Nobody can limit you. Nobody can tell you you cannot do that, but be self-realistic and self-critical.
Very good advice. Well, Hamed, I want to thank you. I'm mindful of your busy schedule, given you just announced new finance round. I'm sure there is a lot of demand. Thank you, Hamed, for joining me today for this interview. I think that you have a great journey ahead of you. I am very excited that I can join your journey. Together, I think we can build something great that can make an impact, that can help us to make it better tools, better products, that can reduce the power, better performance, that can impact many of our AI lives that are coming in front of us.
Thank you very much, Young. It's been a pleasure, and looking forward to the next steps with the company. And I want to finish with one sentence that growth and comfort do not coexist. Thank you.
Outstanding. Appreciate that.